Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for December 13th, 2023. Let's stand for a moment of silence, if you would, and then the Pledge of Allegiance headed by Councilmember McPartland. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's have the roll call, please.
Mayor Dodd.
Here.
Vice Mayor Dixon. Here. Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Councilmember McPartland.
Here.
And Councilmember Nunn.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, Council, on agenda modifications, we've been asked to pull item 9D. Does anyone else have any agenda modifications they'd like to make? Nope.
No.
Okay, then by unanimous consent, the agenda is accepted. We're now on the proclamations and awards. And before I go down to do this first proclamation, it was enheartening to hear that our school district got an A this week. The school districts around us did not get an A; they got a B. In our feeling, not only did the school district get an A, but the Sebastian Sharks football team received an A also in what they were doing. So we would like to do a proclamation. I'm going to come down forward and I'm going to ask Coach Perry to introduce his staff that's here, and then I'll read the proclamation. Thank you.
Should we have him join you up front?
Well, yeah, I'm going to, let's have his staff join us up front when he introduces them. How's that? Okay. I know the players are very important in this, but you know, good football players have to have good coaches.
We appreciate that.
So you'd like to do this?
Yes, sir. Coach Bass, he's not here. Coach Brad Butler, come on up. Coach Lewis Caswell, Sr. Come on up. Coach Fletcher. Coach Franklin. Coach Ron Freeman. Coach Rob Harris. Coach Wayne Snow. Coach White, Coach McKenzie. We have some other coaches, but they're coaching some other sports, so they're at those events.
All right, now I'm going to read a proclamation, and then the players can come up, and we'll get some pictures with the players. Congratulating the Sebastian River High School varsity football squad for their Sunshine State Athletic Association championship. Whereas the Sebastian River High School coaching staff believes that high school football gives every athlete the opportunity to improve and can be used as an educational experience that can generate enjoyable and unforgettable moments for each athlete's life. You probably don't know that when you do 2 days, but whereas in the past 7 years alone, Sebastian River High School has had over 25 graduating seniors go on to sign football scholarships at the collegiate level. Whereas head coach Tyrone Perry's vision in leading the program is to prepare the student athletes for their futures in the classroom, on the field, in the community, and in life as young adults through football. And whereas the Sebastian Sharks football team had a 6-4 winning season under Coach Tyrone Perry, who is now in his 6th season as head coach of the Sharks and his 30th coaching season at Sebastian River High School. Whereas the Sebastian River community cheerleaders, band, and fans supported the players and coaches throughout their spectacular season, both home and away. Whereas the focus, endurance, and hard work each student athlete has demonstrated over the past football season has contributed to the lives of the players and will stay with them forever. The future possibilities are endless for each of them. Now therefore, the Sebastian City Council is proud to recognize the Sebastian River High School varsity football squad for the Sunshine State Athletic Association Championship, and we hope success comes to follow each athlete as they begin their young lives. In witness thereof, the City of Sebastian City Council has heretofore set their hand and caused the seal of the City of Sebastian to be affixed this 13th day of December 2023, and it's signed by all 5 councilors.
If the team would come up.
Oh, man, they're gonna, you better move some tables.
You guys up? Kelly, you need on a chair.
I know. Class 2001. Right in the hole.
Before we part, we'd like to give a thanks to the City of Sebastian for doing this stuff for us and honoring us. So we'd like to give a helmet that was used in the game
Oh, cool.
with the members of the coaches and the players' names and their numbers on the helmet.
And I'm sure we will find an appropriate place to display this at City Hall.
We appreciate that. Also, I'd like to make sure, recognize our principal, Mr. Cummings, in the back, and our assistant principal, Mr. Timmer. Oh, got something else for you.
Oh, thank you. Sharks Program 23 Fall Season Yearbook. This is nice. We'll also have actually, this could be one of our centennial things.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Again, thank you. Thank City Hall. Thank y'all for doing this for us. Thank you.
Congratulations.
People who wanted to take pictures had an opportunity to take them. I'm going to move back here out of the way.
All right. Good job.
And you guys can applaud if you see yourself. Okay, I know you guys probably don't want to stay through this whole boring meeting. So if you'd like to leave, we'll take a couple of seconds and let you have an opportunity to do so. Okay. Okay, before we get to the introduction of Alex, I want to once again mention the A rating that the Indian River County School District has received. Given all the pressures that school districts have been under in the past year, it's a great accomplishment that they've been able to keep the school system together enough to get an A rating. It's a good deal, I think, that we celebrate that. All right, Brian, would you like to do the introduction for our new director?
Are you on?
You can't hear me? Okay. Barbara, is this thing loud enough? Try it now. I'll try it now. Got it? All right. She's used to me yelling. Okay, Brian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to take this opportunity to introduce our new Community Development Director and CRA Manager, Alex Bernard. And Alex, if you can come up to the front, please. Introduce her to, obviously, she's met everyone from council, and she's been on board for a little over to about 2.5 weeks now. And introduce her to the public. And if Alex, if you'd like to say a few words.
Good evening. Is this on? Can you guys hear me? Okay.
We got you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for the warm welcome to the city of Sebastian. I look forward to working with all of you and the community as a whole and having a vision for Sebastian moving forward. As you know, I've worked in municipal government since 2005, and I look forward to carrying out Sebastian's vision for the future. So thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you who don't know, the Community Development Director is probably one of the thankless jobs that we have in the city and one of the most difficult. So, welcome, welcome. It's a difficult position, so. All right, now we're up to public input. This is a time where anyone who wants to bring some, excuse me, go ahead.
Brief announcements.
Oh, yes, brief announcements.
Yes.
Madam Vice Mayor.
We have this Friday night, December 15th, the Sebastian Police Department's Family Movie Night featuring the Polar Express starts at 6 p.m. And then Saturday morning, December 16th, Wreaths Across America. If you actually want to participate in putting the wreaths on the gravestones, that begins at 10:30. You can show up a little earlier. The actual ceremony for Wreaths Across America will be at Veterans Memorial at Riverview Park starting at noon. This is all weather permitting. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we're up to public input. Anyone who would like to bring an item forward to the council that is not on the current agenda can come forward at this time. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. So, does anyone like to address the council on an item? No? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Okay. Good evening. We're moving on now to, I'm going to recess the city council meeting and convene the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting at this time. And we have one item on our community redevelopment agenda, and that is approval of minutes for the September 27th meeting. Do I have a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So we're now going to adjourn the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting and reconvene the City Council. It was a quick jump. We're on to the consent agenda, and I will remind everyone that we did remove item D from the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve items 9A, C, D, and E. Second?
No motion is second.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Ron. We removed item 9D as in dogs. I think your motion was
All right, then,
A, C, D, E, so it'd have to be A, B, C, E.
Correct.
You restate
so
that.
I'll restate the motion, items 9A, B, C, and E. I second that.
I thought that's what I heard.
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. There is money involved in one of these items, so let's take a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Dixon,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin,
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn,
Yes.
and Mayor Dodd.
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, the next item is committee reports and appointments. We don't have any on the agenda, but I'd like to bring something up under this heading. Our charter in section 2.6B requires that the city committees and boards actually on an annualized basis come forward and report to the council on their activities and what their planned activities are. So if it's a consensus of council, I'd like to see if we can get the clerk to schedule the chair of each of those committees and boards to come a single time this in 2024 and provide us a report. Does anyone have any comments about that?
That seems reasonable.
No?
Would you like to stagger them instead of all one time?
Oh, yeah, we can
Okay.
let the clerk say, I think one committee per meeting is
Sure.
is what we would want, and she can schedule them in whatever sequence she needs to do as far as that. Is that acceptable?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, by consensus, let's see if we can do that. I think it's important that the public hear from these people, you know, first of all, and it's important maybe sometimes that we hear what they're doing.
Agreed.
I know we watch the meetings, I'm sure
Right.
all of us do, but it might be important to do that. Okay. Public hearings, item 11.
Mr. Mayor, before we keep going, since we pulled that item D, do we want to bring it back and talk about it and then make a motion to approve it or deny it?
Yeah.
Or is it pulled forever
I thought we pulled it and placed it on new business.
under new business? Okay.
Did you place it under, no, I think I just pulled it. from
You
the
just
agenda.
pulled it?
Yes.
Well, we have to approve, it needs to be discussed tonight. I apologize, I thought you had placed it on new business.
Okay, then we will, if there's a consent from council, we will place that on item 13, boom, 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 H-I-J-K-L,
90.
13L, which is new business item L. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I didn't realize, I thought you just wanted to pull it because she wasn't ready to do it.
No, sir, it's a change of dates, and it's before the next meeting.
Okay.
Fair enough.
Well, actually, I think in the future, we could have pulled that from the consent agenda and then modified that at that point in time as opposed to removing it.
Correct, we can
Yeah.
do that without moving it.
Without moving
I
it.
thought you had
Yeah.
moved it at the time.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
It's just to clarify, it's generally presumed that it's put under new business when you pull it, unless you would table it, and I didn't hear you table it.
We didn't
so-
table it. No.
Correct, so we're good.
We're good, okay. All right. All right. We're on to item A, under 11, new business. That is, I will let the city attorney read the topic of the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is consideration of resolution number R-23-37, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, electing to use the uniform method of collecting a non-ad valorem special assessment to be levied within the incorporated area of the City of Sebastian, stating a need for such levy, providing for administrative actions, providing for conflicts, scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, before we start this, Mr. Benton, this item is not dealing with the overall trash collection process. It's only dealing with assigning a collection agency to collect those funds. So, I just want to make sure everybody in the audience who might come up and talk about this doesn't come up and begin to question whether we did a correct thing or not a correct thing when we signed the agreement with Waste Management, because that's not part of this motion. That's not part of this resolution, okay? If you'd like to introduce.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So before you all tonight, Resolution R23-37, staff is requesting direction with this resolution to place the waste management collection onto the non-ad valorem special assessment, which would go on the Indian River County tax roll. And this would provide us direction to work with the property appraiser and the tax collector to get this added, and we still have to continue to follow the state statute in regards to our requirements as we work through the leading up until the tax roll is finalized in the summer of 2024. So we're just asking for you all to adopt the resolution to place, for this public hearing, to place this item on the non-ad valorem special assessment.
Okay, council, if it's your pleasure, I'll open this up to public comment before we begin the discussion. Is that okay? All right, is anyone in the public who would like to address this issue? Oh, yes, sir.
I guess I'm going to have to wear a flashier shirt so he can see who I am.
You need one of these ugly sweaters, and we've got you going.
There you go. Name is Pasquale. I live at Wimbo Drive, Sebastian. Been here a year and a half. Moved up here from Stewart. Plenty of activity down here with city commissioners. This item I am totally against, because it forces us to pay fees for services that will be rendered down the road. This is tried in St. Lucie County, and it was a disaster because people were paying for trash collection and not getting it. Last summer, there was a big to-do about this on all the newscasts. Trash everywhere. I don't think the city should get into the same kind of a problem should this trash pickup people decide not to pick it up. We've already paid, and we're not getting services, or the possibility that we may not get services. I think a better way to do it would be to put these charges on your water bills. You'll be paid every month. If you get the services, you pay. You don't get the services, you don't pay. We have more control over it, rather than collecting a large sum of money once a year. And somebody has brought up the fact that people will get a 4% discount. This amounts to practically nothing in dollars and cents. I suggest you relook at this and make another study of how to pay for this service. This is not a good way that you have brought up here tonight. And you can check St. Lucie County and find out what happened down there if you wish to. So be it.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else like to come forward? Yes.
Most of you know me, Ann Stanley. I'm here to talk about the levying on the tax. I am totally against it. I'm sure you all know. I've been pretty vocal about it. We have trash. I was told by a reliable source this was going to be the answer to all our trash problems in the city, this company, Waste Management, going forward. We have trash on Vosel Avenue, as one of our council people drives by it probably every day, I'm assuming. Every single day there's piles of trash sitting by the road. Can you give me the answer? We thought the service was going to be better. We're taking away one day. Either our code enforcement isn't doing something, or I don't know where we're going wrong here. I think we need to revisit what we're doing with waste management instead of taking away service. And I have never had waste management. My trash is about this big. That's how much trash I have. But I will be paying come October of next year, I will be paying the same amount of people that 10 people were living across the street. Now, is that the way we should be treated as senior citizens? I mean, it's insane to me. I still can't believe it's really happening. I look at it and I refocus on it and I think, how can this be? Now, you're forcing trash. Nothing I can do about it. I eventually, on October 20, next year, I'm going to have to pay for it. But, I mean, I'm replumbing my house right now because the water was bad in Indian River County. No fault of yours. Bills are coming in. We are going to be scaring people right out of our beautiful city, and that is not fair. It's going to be $10,000 for me to repipe my house. No fault of yours. I'm just telling you, as a senior, the expenses that we have ahead. Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward? Is there anyone on Zoom?
Not at this time.
Okay, council, it's open for your discussion. Who wants to start? Nobody.
You want me to start? I'll start. I'm against putting this on the tax bill. And again, going back and looking, I have no problem with waste management service. They charge me $100 a month I would pay for because I need it. But when we were discussing this in the fall, you know, we were told 17% don't get the garbage. Okay, well, 17% might not get the garbage completely, but then there's 13% of the snowbirds. So it's actually was in fact over 30% of the residents, at least, who were not using the service full time. So now we're looking at, you know, you increase the private company, you increase their customer base by at least 30%, because the idea also is when it was $14 a month, you have the customers. When you raise it to $20 a month, a lot more people would give up the service, because I met a lot of seniors that, you know, like I just heard, that are struggling. And $20 might not mean a lot to me, but it means a lot to a lot of other people when you got to pick between prescription medication or a gallon of milk. So again, and also because they did the recent thing, in waste management, even though it was mandatory, they were able to collect at a 92% clip. So to me, it's like, I don't think it should go on the tax bill. Again, if you're giving all the money up front, you should get a much bigger discount than 4%. You should be looking at something a lot more. And then again, is like you're paying all at one bunch. Then the thing is, if there is a problem starting, and I don't believe that the city should take it on either. And again, after the recent emails going back and forth, I thought we were getting rid of the 6% franchise fee, but now it looks like that's going to have to at least be a portion of paying whichever way we go, and it's still going to cost the money a portion to supplement the billing system. So I'm a no for this.
Anyone else?
Yeah, when I looked at these numbers, and Brian and I spoke, and we looked at this, and I thought we were getting rid of the 6% franchise fee as well. But in order for the city not to be in a deficit, we'd have to add in the 6% franchise fee that we agreed not to have in there. So, you know, I'm still a no on all of this anyway. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
Sure. Well, I did my due diligence. I'm not saying anybody else didn't, but I've had discussions about this franchise fee from the beginning, and I knew that the tax collector was going to charge 2% to put it on the trim notice. It was going to charge a 2% to bill it, that we were going to have to pay for these things, and if we don't charge the franchise fee, that means it has to come out of our general fund. I'm not sure how the discussions I've had about this, that nobody else has had those discussions, and I apologize. It's not like I can have those discussions with you. So I don't know how that was missed by everybody else, or at least the ones that have spoken so far. I apologize. There's a huge cost associated with this, and Mr. Benton's email to us laid it out pretty clearly. Even if we private bill this, we're going to lose approximately $300,000 a year, I think. I don't know if we want to take and put those numbers up on the board so everybody can see them. But even if we collect the full 6%, After we pay the tax collector and after we pay for everything else we're gonna do, not including the trim notice, we're gonna, I think, benefit $4,000, if I remember right, the numbers on the chart. I forgot to bring the paper with me. But I believe we're gonna benefit $4,000 if we collect the full 6%, with what we assume in past, how many people have paid and gotten the 4% discount on their tax bills. We're not gonna make any money off this thing. If we do it any other way besides bill this through the tax bill, it is going to cost us. It's going to cost us huge. It's going to affect our general tax bill. At this point, if we charge the 6%, everybody pays their fair share of the garbage cost. If we do it on the tax bill and let it go through the general fund, those that have higher taxes on their houses, someone that has a $500,000 house is going to pay more of that franchise fee than someone that, say, lives in a mobile home park that we have in town that doesn't pay taxes.
Let me correct that. The franchise fee is not on your ad valorem taxes. It's on the
No,
waste management charge.
if we don't collect the franchise fee, that money is going to have to come from the general fund.
Right.
And therefore, it's going to have to come from your ad valorem taxes. The money has to come from somewhere to pay for it. If we don't include the franchise fee, that means taxes have to go up to pay for the franchise fee cost in ad valorem taxes. And once again, somebody that has a $500,000 house is going to pay more in taxes towards that amount than somebody that has a $75,000 house, let's just say. Not necessarily fair. They may produce more garbage than that person with that $500,000 house. So 6% across the board on the franchise fee is the only way to put it on there appropriately. We have a contract. We're already done with that. I'm not sure why we're talking about it, about the contract. This is about billing. The only sensible, financially stable way to do this is to put it on the tax bill. There's no other way. I said, if we want to put the numbers up on the board and explain to everybody what the numbers are, if we do it any other way besides putting on a tax bill, we're going to be in a huge deficit. I know 4% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about millions of dollars, 4% is huge. Thank you.
Mr. Nunn said it, and it's true. We're in this predicament because of decisions made or not made in a timely manner by our previous city manager. I'm going to say it. I'm not afraid. And that's why we're in this situation. And now we have to make this an additional hard decision because of the decisions that have come before us. And Mr. Nunn said it best. In addition to already being in a hard spot, we're going to be in a more difficult spot if we don't put it on the tax collector, on our tax bill. Because the city will be in, I'm looking at the numbers right now, upside down by more than $100,000, if not more. And we've decided as a council in our recent decisions that we're trying to push the city forward and make up for lost time of years of rollbacks and fixing systems that needed to be done, roads that need to be done, and we don't need to be taking more money away from our general fund because of poor decisions previously. So here we are, and as hard as it is to do, the tax collector method is the soundest method for the city.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I'll put my 2 cents worth in now. I don't adequately disagree with anybody. It's a shame. We, quite frankly, did not look at the financing component of this well enough when we talked about the waste management contract. I was here. I voted for it. I'm up for re-election in November. If people want to come after me for it, fine. That's good. I'll be happy with that. If we take any other avenue other than placing it, and it's not a tax. I want to clear this up. This is not a tax. This is a fee that's being placed that the tax collector is collecting for the city. We haven't increased anybody's taxes. What we've done is we've hired, if we do this, we will have hired the tax collector to collect revenue for the city, just like it would if we hired Joe Blow Collection Agency to do it. It's no different. So that's the decision that we're looking at tonight. And I think Councilmember Nunn and Councilmember Dixon both referred to this, but I can tell you that if we were to go after this through the even through the tax collector's avenue and not include the 6% franchise fee, which is actually 3% now, because we approved a 3% franchise fee when we approved the waste management change, so we'll have to increase it by 3%. The city's going to be in a deficit of $170,661.34. That's $170,661.34 that Mr. Benton can't use to hire a planner, to hire an engineer, to hire anybody. That will hire some pretty competent people. And that means that we're going to be paying that to waste management as opposed to paying that to do the things that need to be done through the city. If we do include the 6% franchise fee, I did my own math on this, and and basically, I think Councilmember Nunn said it. There's a small positive number at the end of the process on that if we collect that. If we do this through any means other than the tax collector, there's another issue that hasn't been really adequately talked about again, and that is defaults. If it goes through the tax collector's office, they handle the default process. I mean, they deal with the fact that you don't pay your taxes. You don't pay, because you can't not pay this fee and pay your ad valorem taxes. So anybody out there who thinks they can protest and subtract this fee from their tax payment is not thinking logically, because you can't do that. Okay. However, let's say we have a 10% delinquency default rate. That means that 10% of the people in the city don't pay this fee if we collect it through ABC Collection Agency. The city's on hock to that because we're obligated to pay Waste Management $3,087,216 a year in fees to collect our trash. We're not signing a deal between each of you in Waste Management. We're signing a deal between the City of Sebastian and Waste Management, and the city is accepting the responsibility of subcontracting to Waste Management your trash collection. Now, I know there's some mechanical legal issues in how it was all set up, and maybe those things can be fixed at some point in time. So I'm in favor of doing this only because it is the financially sound thing to do. I was in favor of the universal collection because over 70% of the people in this city paid for a subscription, and it was the least increase in cost on that 70%. And quite frankly, my feeling is when you're elected to an office, you're elected to govern, not to do things because they fit your political perspective or they fit your political ideals. And in this process, governing meant that we should protect the 70% of the citizens who already do that, as opposed to worry about the 10% of the citizens who are really mad because they can't take their trash to a transfer station, which, oh, by the way, may not be there next year. Because the county goes out next year on their waste management or their trash collection, and the transfer stations are the result of their last waste management contract. There's no indication or any guarantee that those transfer stations may not go away. We don't know the answer to that. So you may end up taking your trash to the dump off Oslo Road and weighing your car, taking it in, dropping it off, come back, weighing your car, and paying a fee when you do that. So I'm in favor of making this move. I think it's the right move for the city, and I will entertain a motion.
Hang on, Mr. Dodd, may I, Mr. Dodd?
Yeah, you can say.
All right. No, I was going to ask something. So, based on the numbers recently cited that we're looking at, and why is our assumption at 95% if all the money is going to be collected and paid to us so that we can pay waste management?
I'm sorry.
I'll answer that if you want. That is for the outside billing companies. That is not included on the tax collector's line. So that's only if outside companies are doing the billing.
But we are also not expecting, the numbers reflecting that we may not get but 95%. Is that?
So just for clarification, so collections by the tax collector, we're anticipating a 3.6% reduction in the amount billed due to early payments and that such, plus a 2% cost to the tax collector's office for their administrative process and fees of collecting this payment for the city. So yes, there is a reduction there in what the city will actually receive compared to what is billed, which is the discussion on the franchise fees. The 95% I believe you are referencing, so when we did this, the outline of doing internal billing and external billing, we had to have a number of what the staff anticipated our collection rate would be from residents. I can tell you right now, Waste Management's collection is about 92%. So in our numbers here, we ran with a 95% rate if the city's able to have more people pay because the city's billing them, or a 90% rate, which shows a slight reduction in what Waste Management's collecting. So that's where the 95% number assumption is shown on the diagram you're looking at.
Okay. Something was brought up earlier about paying Waste Management at one time, the $3 million and whatever, but I don't believe that's the case. I think we could get the money from the tax collector and we pay monthly or quarterly?
We will be billed monthly from Waste Management.
Monthly.
Correct.
And we're using that money coming from the tax collector, that received from the tax collector, to pay them?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
So basically we would pay them, the October payment would be due November 15th, I believe, is somewhere around in that frame. So we would have to pay them based on our collections for the monthly bill for October and then proceeding on each month.
And that would be money that come from us because we haven't collected the tax on that, so we would be behind a month?
So we start receiving money in November from the tax collector's office once tax payments start being made to the tax collector. So I know in discussions with Mr. Kilgore, our finance director, based on the breakdown of the monthly fees, we collect enough early in November to be able to utilize those funds to make that first payment. And then the majority of our payments come in later in November, early December, and we would be have the funds to be able to continue to make those payments as we go through.
Okay.
So we're not anticipating the city having to take money out of another source, general fund or anything, to make that first payment. We should receive the funds to make that first payment.
All right. Anyone else?
I have one other thing. I did want to address one of the comments made was we looked at the options of putting this on the water bill, but the city does not have a water bill. So in order for us to have tried to put it on a water bill, we would actually have to go to the county. The problem is Sebastian isn't 100% city water or county water. Sebastian has, I think roughly 10% of the people actually have wells still inside city limits. So going water did not provide us an all-encompassing solution, and it wasn't a viable option, just as I heard people and have had people ask me why we don't put this in a water bill. Well, we don't have a water utility. City of Vero Beach has a water utility, and they're 100% on city water, so they have the ability to bill their garbage through their water bill because of the 100% billing capacity. And if you don't pay your garbage, you don't pay your water gets turned off. That's how they have guaranteed payment on their mandatory garbage there. That's all I had. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything? I have a question for the city attorney. Jennifer,
Yes, sir.
is it appropriate to include in the motion on this to increase the, we rolled the franchise fee back to 3% in our last action. Is it appropriate to include in this motion increasing the franchise fee back to 6%, or should we do that separately?
I think we're limited to what we advertised, and
Okay.
this should be limited to that resolution regarding the levy.
Okay, good, thank you. All right. If there's no other comments, I'm ready for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve Resolution R23-37.
Second.
Any comments on the motion? We have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Jones?
No.
Councilmember McPartlin?
No.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. One thing I want to bring up before we move on to the next item, I think one of our speakers, Ann Stanley, talked about the potential lack of performance by Waste Management. We have avenues to deal with that. And Brian, we talked, I believe, back last year or earlier this year when we made this change, we talked about who was going to receive the complaints and how the city was going to be involved in making sure the Waste Management deals with that. I think that was a very valid comment. I hear that from several people, and I would appreciate us maybe having a presentation on our agenda at a future meeting to talk about how that's being handled and whether the council feels that the city should take some more proactive efforts in kind of monitoring what's being done. Because I think what we did is we decided to kind of let Waste Management lead that charge. And let's make sure. They were supposed to be providing you some reports and some things, and I don't know whether you're getting them or not. And if you are, I don't know whether we're getting complaints in from the citizens' complaint line, which would be an appropriate thing to do, and we can compare that to the Waste Management reports or do something.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to confirm, I do receive reports from Waste Management on all phone calls they receive in regards to missed pickups, and it shows when they went back out and picked it up, whether they met the requirements in the contract. And I do have those reports from Waste Management, but we'll be happy to do a presentation to kind of show the public how the process works.
Yeah, I think it's prudent for the council to try to make sure that we're doing our oversight responsibility and that we're making sure that Waste Management is actually doing the things that they say they're going to do. So.
I would like to mention the pile of garbage on Vosel is a citizen that loves to throw garbage out by the curb constantly. They have for the past, I don't know, I've lived in the house 4 years now. It's frustrating. I don't think they even call Waste Management. I think they're just expecting somebody to pick it up. So I guess at this point, if nobody else is going to call, I'll just start calling code enforcement myself on that house every time I pass it, because literally they just throw piles of crap by the road constantly. And that I don't think that personally that it's Waste Management's fault on that situation. I think it's a citizen that doesn't want to do what's right for the neighborhood. And I think we'll have to deal with that internally.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to item 9B. Mr. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, so item 13A.
13A.
Oh, correct.
Yes, 13A.
So we have Arcadis is here in regards to doing a presentation for our stormwater master plan. And then also we have Ms. Karen Miller, who's our city engineer, public works director, to answer follow-up questions from council and have discussion as well.
Mr. Mayor, may I? Before we went to this, we were talking about something and we never agreed till we didn't get a consensus from the council, what you brought up.
On asking Brian to come
Yeah,
back
on the reports and everything,
Yeah,
because I was waiting, I wanted to comment on that too, but to make sure that, that we have the numbers of, you know, the complaints versus what was resolved and what was true and what was false and that type of stuff. So.
I would like a copy of all those emails. Yes, please.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you, sir.
You might regret that.
Yeah.
I will.
I'll start with the summary, send him the emails.
Right.
Okay, thank you, guys. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. City Manager, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our findings on the Stormwater Master Plan. It was a very long and extensive project. Had a lot of challenges, but it's a good, we believe we have a lot of good information for you. And I'll very quickly present the information. Understand that this is a very extensive report and that this is just a brief, highlight of the findings of the report, and it does not include all of the information. Oh, excuse me. My name is Chris Tillman. I'm the project manager for Arcadis. And this is,
I'm Melissa Pomalis, and I'm the Florida area leader, and I basically supported the team on the QA and QC and the technical advisory on the project.
okay. So very quickly, we'll go through this. Nope.
I'm sorry, Mr.
hearing
Mayor.
problems.
They're having a hard time hearing the speaker.
Are they in the back?
Yeah, in the back.
Okay, can you bring that mic up a little bit? Try the mic again.
AV problem here.
She's got a handheld mic.
Yeah, it's supposed to be right here.
IT's coming. Technical good times.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a PowerPoint. Right. Sure, does that one work? Is that better?
Yeah. Actually, can you guys hear in the back?
Say a couple things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Use your big voice.
Use my big voice, all right. All right, so, okay. So just to go through some of the project goals, some of the highlights, the high points of the project. First was the stormwater system mapping and modeling. We had basically had to create the entire GIS model of the entire system as we were developing this. We'll go through that in just a moment. But it included, so our work included documentation reviews of all of the archive files of all of what had been constructed previously in the system. GIS system surveys that we did ourselves. We did also, while we were doing that, a condition assessment of all of the culverts and swales and everything that we could see. And then we developed a hydrologic model of the entire system that we ran on 3 different storm events. A 25-year, 24-hour, a 50-year, and a 100-year, 24-hour. Next, we did the capital improvements program. We reprioritized the CIP projects that had been proposed previously and added a few that we found after we did our modeling results. Beyond that, we touched on the stormwater quality analysis that's covered by the SWIL model in your BMAP. Also, we looked at sea level rise, compared published data against data from the Trident Pier station just up the way from you, and compared what the sea level rise is expected to be over, through 2050. Then we did a stormwater rate sufficiency analysis, and the reason we did this is because to make sure that we produced a plan that was actually doable. Okay, we didn't want to produce something that was just a pie in the sky plan that you would put on a shelf. We wanted something that was actually workable within the finances of your current system. So what we did is a financial analysis, what we call a rate sufficiency study, of the stormwater department to see what money we had available for operations and what other money might be available for CIP, if any, and if not, then where additional CIP money would be coming from. Then last is the O&M plan development, and this was where we basically developed and we analyzed every activity that the department is doing within the system and figured out how much that costs. Basically develop a unit cost for instance, how much does it cost you to clean out an inlet with a Vector truck and a crew? We figured out exactly how much labor, how much equipment, what the cost of that is, figured that out for every activity that they're doing, and then determine what level of effort would you need to do just to minimally maintain the system, just the bare minimum requirements to maintain the system the way it should be maintained. Okay, next. When we started the project, we went into this assuming that there was a GIS model, that there was a model input file with all of the system, with all of the elevations of all the structures, the locations. That's normal. And we assumed going into this that we were simply going to be updating the model and updating the plans that were done before. What we discovered when we came in is that there wasn't a lot of data. And so recognizing that,
We simply shift gears. We simply said, okay, well, we'll have to go get that data then, and we'll have to we'll have to find that data. We were going to do a visual assessment of the system anyway. We were going to have a crew here, so what we said is, well, we will just simply rent the equipment that they need to shoot elevations of everything that's out here and locate it so that we can develop the GIS map, and that's exactly what they did. So we sent a two-man crew down. They went through the whole system. They were here for a month, and they visually inspected everything and developed an enormous GIS map that we then used in the modeling later on. The rest of it, the analyses, the financial analysis, that had not been done before. And so this was something that we initiated as part of this, again, just to make sure that we were developing a plan for you that was workable. Okay, go ahead. So going to the stormwater system mapping, okay? So going through the system, and understand that the system that you have is enormous. I know that it may seem like Sebastian is a small town, and its stormwater system is enormous. You've got over 360 miles of grass swales. You've got over 1,290 culverts that we mapped. There may be more that are out there in the system. So there's literally thousands and thousands and thousands of items that are out there in your stormwater system that had to be mapped, had to be put into the model, and then we had to check everything to make sure that it flowed correctly. The H&H model that was developed is a one-dimensional model, because what we wanted to do was to model the entire city with one model. And so to do that, we had to use a one-dimensional model and then connect all of those points through and run it, and it's an enormous file. The model results for what it showed in the bottom line is that the system can accept smaller storm events, 1 year, 2 year, even 5 year, not a problem. When you get up into 10-year storm events and larger, because of the many, many issues associated with this area, okay, the fact that it's very flat, the fact that you have high groundwater, the conveyances are an issue, and the complexity of the system, you start to see flooding. You start to see flooding points where the water simply can't get to a channel fast enough. It can't get to a canal fast enough. And so it starts to flood up over the roadway. This occurred in the 10-year event, the 25-year event, and the 100-year event in all the model runs that we did. Knowing this, we went through and reprioritized, and after we took a look at the finances too, we reprioritized the 10-year CIP. So what we did is we carved out, in discussions with the city staff, it was understood that about $1 million a year of the discretionary sales tax was going to be directed towards capital projects. That was the direction that we were given. So that's what we used as a base point for establishing the CIP. In doing that, we were able to carve out about $800,000 to about $1.3 million each year for 10 years of doable projects that the city could do themselves that would make a big difference in the performance of the system. And so, and there's these projects are important. They are, and because of the size, we used a smaller size project. It's something that would fit within the budget. The larger projects, there are the canal projects. Those were pushed to the future, and the reason is there's a lot of issues associated with them, but also because of their cost. Those canal projects, even if you broke them up into smaller pieces, they are enormous. They're $30, $40, $50 million a piece, and you have many, many of them to do. So that's something that would have to be done, with other funds or through another method. Go to the next. Stormwater quality. The stormwater quality is dictated by the requirements that DEP put into their model. And so based on that, it's the Indian River Lagoon Basin Management Action Plan. And so that's pretty much set. And each year, you can put in projects and get credits, what they call BMAP credits, for projects that you do that help lower your total nitrogen and total phosphorus. So far, the city's completed 16 of these projects, and they've reduced about 16% of the total nitrogen and a little over 10% of the total phosphorus. So you are progressing towards the goals. Okay? Sea level rise. I know a lot of people have had concerns about this. We looked at the published data from the interagency task force that was published in February 2022. What they predicted was about a 0.25 to a 0.3 meter increase between 2020 to 2050. We compared that against the NOAA station at Trident Pier, and our data came up a little lower than that, actually. It's on the lower end. And so what we concluded is that in the future, you're going to see about a half a foot increase in sea level rise by 2050. For your system, that's not going to have much of an effect. There will be some smaller areas that see some issues, but overall, the effect of that is going to be minimal. The stormwater operations analysis, this is what I was describing to you previously. This is where we went through all the activities that the stormwater department is currently doing. And by the way, kudos to the stormwater department for being able to do what they do with the staff and equipment that they have. This is an enormous system to try and maintain, and they're doing a really good job. But after going through all of the analysis and looking at all of the activities that they're currently doing and all the activities that need to be done on the system, what we concluded is that they need more staff, they need more equipment, and they need more funding, to be able to do that, just to maintain it at a minimum level. Okay, not going overboard, but just maintaining the system the way it should be maintained. Okay. In the financial analysis, again, going back to the rate sufficiency study that we did, and after we put in all of the operational analysis, after we put in all of what we expected them to be able to do, again, what we concluded is that the revenue requirements were insufficient. They need more revenue coming into the department. In this revenue sufficiency, I'd like to point out that we took out the CIP. Remember, the CIP was going to be coming in from an outside source, from the discretionary sales tax. So that's not included in this. This is just the operational funding that they need for the department just to maintain the system. And what it showed is that they need a 41%, well, I know it's a high percentage, but it goes from $10 to $14.10 is basically what they would need to do. It's not that much of a jump in terms of overall cash. But what that'll do for the department, if you can look at the graph, is it puts them on track moving forward with the rise in expenses and the rise in additional payroll that they need to have to be able to maintain the system. Okay? So in conclusion, and again, these are not all of the conclusions and recommendations. These are just the really major ones. Main thing is they need increased funding to do the work on the system. They need to increase the number of maintenance activities that they're doing. There's some activities that they just simply haven't had time or resources to do that need to be done. Obviously, they need to increase the staffing to be able to do those additional activities. The capital fleet needs to be increased. Most especially, they need a second Vector truck to be able to do additional work on the inlets and get additional inlets done. The reprioritized 10-year program, those are workable, those are doable, and they would make a big difference. There is one in particular, that we had proposed along Sebastian Boulevard, what we call the main drain, that would make an enormous difference. It would increase the performance of the system quite a bit, just that one project. The next is increasing the available canal storage volume, okay? Because if you think of it, Your canals are essentially linear storage tanks, okay? What we proposed is that at the Concha Dam, because that's being proposed to be replaced, is you replace it with an adjustable weir, okay, that you can draw that canal volume down ahead of a storm event and then raise the weir back up so that when you get that first flush of water, it's stored in the system and not discharging, so you don't get that big discharge going out. It would allow the system to perform better in larger storm events. And then last was something that we had discussed quite a bit is the private systems. You have quite a few private systems that flow into your system, and the concern is that maybe they're not maintaining them correctly, or you're getting water that you shouldn't be getting, or more water. And what you can do is establish a certification program where every year, and this is something that can be a revenue source for the city, is that every year you require them to hire a PE to inspect their system, certify it to the city that it's being maintained and operated correctly, and so that you can, so that the city doesn't have to go and do that work. So, again, that's the end of our. Yeah, that's the end of our brief summary. I'm sorry I went over a little bit on time, but there was a lot to discuss.
Okay.
So at this time.
Does anyone have any questions?
Anyone have questions?
Okay, now, Brian, we'll just open this up for discussion about next steps or what needs to be done. The agenda item is that basically we accept the Stormwater Master Plan report. So that would be something we would have to do by motion. However, we probably, I think, and you and I have talked about this, want to talk about some directional statements, things that we would like maybe to move forward with in the next step. You can show the people that book if you want to. All I can tell you is I don't know, I got an email from the Neighborhood Association that said there was 1,700 pages in there, and I didn't count the pages. I did do a cursory read. The way that I do that is I kind of go through and read the high points, and I'm very happy that Karen Miller gave us a 50-page summation of that. So she couldn't narrow it down to more than 50 pages, or less than 50 pages.
I was going to say, that binder's 2 6-inch binders, yeah, double-sided, and they're full. So, yeah. Both of them are full.
From my perspective, it's a very good report. Is it what I would have expected? I don't know, because I wasn't sure what I expected. It's a great beginning point for us. It gives us a lot of information. I will tell you that lots of times when you get in front of politicians and you start talking about increasing staff, it goes on the shelf and we forget about it. We're not going to do that. That's not something I don't think this council is going to accept doing. It's putting that on the shelf and forgetting about it. No. So we need to move forward with it. And so I think we've got a good base. I think our staff with Brian and with his stormwater staff is capable of taking that to the next level and moving forward with it. So that's my comments on the report. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, to add to what you're saying, if you listen to what Chris was saying, the numbers and the amount of percentage increase, like you said, the 40% and all that, it was just to maintain our current system. None of that was to enhance or help or make it better, which we hear the complaints every time we have these big events. So just, consider that, and we all need to remember that, like you said, Mayor Dodd. We definitely need to take their input and remember that this is just for maintenance, not to enhance and do better. So a lot of great information. 10 years ago, I would have never thought I would spend a whole evening reading about the stormwater plan, and thank you very much, Karen, because there's no way I could have gotten through that, but I did make it through this, and it was very helpful. Okay.
Yeah, I think this is about moving the plan forward, whether to accept it or not. And based on all the information that I've read throughout all of these documents, they've met all the tasks. Is it 100% what I think it should be? No, but they've met all the tasks, and I think it's a no-brainer that we have to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I know myself, I think I was expecting more of a plan forward for the larger tasks. And I realize at this point, there's a lot of maintenance tasks that are lacking, and that really is pointed out in this report. So I would like to see a report of our actual plan, an action plan maybe for how we move forward on the larger projects, how we move forward on those and prioritize them from a staff level, and then give input on that. But I think this is great, and I know some of those projects are in this plan, so I think we just need to identify, I hear putting the canals further down the road. Some of those canals, I don't know that we could put them too far down the road. Some of them are falling over, and obviously that means property starts falling into the canal bed itself. So I just think we need a full plan, an action plan of how we take this plan and take the project portion of it, move it forward, as well as I think we've already identified the extra maintenance activities that need to happen, and I think we can move that into that action plan as well. If that means hiring more employees, buying more equipment, then I think that can be added to that on the early side. But I definitely would like to see a plan of how we handle the larger, big money projects and kind of put them in a prioritized order, and then now we figure out how to pay for them.
Bob, you got anything?
Well, the way I remember it, when I voted for the plan, I even said I knew it was going to come back and cost $25 to $30 million. And I said there was no reason putting in the plan unless we were going to actually do the plan. And I thought this one, I anticipated that this plan would take into effect the canals. I thought it did. And I thought one of the big reasons we went with your company was with the GIS elevation rates. So I knew we didn't have them already. But what I'm looking for is, you're saying 800,000, 1.3 million. That only handles, what, a 10-year storm. I was looking to hope we get to the 25 to 50 and 100. What does that cost? So is it 41% more than 800,000 to 1.3 million dollars a year, or is it a lot more? And I was hoping to see, and then especially in the presentation, the dollar figures. Again, I'm not an engineer. I know water runs downhill or whatever, but the thing is, what's the cost? So I can talk to the people. That way we can budget. What is the actual dollar number? Because I've been up here 11, 12 years. All I hear is the stormwater. Yeah, I want to fix it. But what is the cost? How much it's got to be? And how do we get from point A to point B? I know we're working within the department. We don't have enough people. We didn't have enough equipment. And we were looking for, contracting out some of the services. So, and then also, we were looking at, dimension was about the grant opportunities. And I remember I asked, I said, are we talking 90-10% grants? Or are we talking 80-20, 50-50, or 100? So I'm not hearing, what's the capability. I'd like to see, and I knew that this 10-year plan might actually take 20 years because it cost a lot of money going over time. So I just want to get from point A to point B, but then if we're doing that without touching the canals, what does it do?
Do you want me to talk about that?
Okay. I think that's the next topic of conversation for us this evening. I think that we have three basic types of stormwater projects that we have to deal with. We have the stuff that's currently being done, and you can see a lot of that. I mean, drive down Schuman Drive and watch those guys clearing out that, and they're finally putting sod down on there, so as they clear it out. But so we're going through many trials. I don't know how many different types of swale modifications that you're testing to see what's the best way to do that, but we're going through many of those right now. So we have the stuff that we know about and we're working on, which is kind of the operational maintenance stuff to kind of make sure that, I don't know, think about this. The city has had a heart attack in stormwater. Our stormwater department is now shooting some morphine into our heart attack. So we don't feel the pain so bad, but we haven't fixed anything. So the next step, I hate to say it this way, the next step is to do that fancy old angioplasty where they go in there and produce a plan on what you have to do. And I agree 100% with everybody's talk about plans. I can see our stormwater department producing an overall plan that includes everything to do with the stormwater system. What they're currently working on, what they're currently planning on working on, and then all this other stuff, including the canals. I saw somewhere, Karen Miller, I saw somewhere in here, in your summarization, and I can't find it right now, the number of $193 million as a cost. Okay, now we all know what our budget is, and we all know how long it would take us to spend $193 million. And it wouldn't surprise me at all, because in 2015, a conservative estimate just on the canals and the canal walls was $50 million.
It's, yeah, in the
And-
CIP
I mean,
program, right,
that was a conservative estimate on that.
right, we
And
broke it up.
right now in those primary canals, we have 3 foot of muck. And we have walls that we'll have to have a very long discussion on who pays for fixing those walls, because we have walls that, by some engineering stupidity, fall on private property and some that don't. So we have to deal with those issues. But that's all part and parcel of this whole system. We have to do a systemic view of this at the top level, because I think Councilmember Partland's 100% right. I would love for us to be able to see at the top level some type of a project plan that says, here's what we have to do in the next 18, 20, 25 years. And here's an engineering WAG, you know what those are. Here's an engineering WAG on what the cost to do that is, and these are the projects that are eligible for potential grants once we make them shovel-ready. And here's the projects that we're not going to get grants for, or we don't think we can get grants for, and how do we fund those? We can't fund projects by adding staff without adding ad valorem tax, unless we increase our stormwater fee. Okay, we can do that because some of that's paid through the stormwater fee. So what we have to have is a lot more information coming back from the staff on how do we do that. I mean, Brian's going to come back to us and say, I think I saw 10 employees in there someplace where we said they needed to add 10 employees. So Brian's going to have to come back to us and say, here's what we have to do to the stormwater master fee, or here's what we have to do to ad valorem taxes to add 10 employees out there.
Right.
If we subcontract that work, we can pay for it through a different avenue. If it's not maintenance work, because a lot of what we have to do is not maintaining the existing system, it's replacing and fixing the existing system. That's a different, I mean, we can't maintain some of these canals. We have to do a lot of work to get them back to the point where they can be maintained. And just for the people out there, just because Brian did mention this to me, he said, I just hope people don't believe it now this plan is done, everything's going to be fixed the next year. We're never, ever, ever, ever going to stop fixing stormwater as a system in this city. We're going to have to redo this plan every 3 to 5 years, hopefully every 5 years. I don't think we need to go to the extent that you went, because hopefully we can fix the major problems as a result of your study and what the staff can do to bring that into operational project plans, and hopefully some shovel-ready project plans that we can go out for grants on. But we're going to have to redo it every 5 years, and we're going to always, always be in the process of modifying and maintaining that system. It never will stop. It'll never stop.
Right.
It's job security for somebody, but it's but it's not something that we're ever going to be able to stop. So I'm in favor, council, if you want to do a motion that we accept this plan and that we direct the city staff to produce for us first an overall, call it an umbrella, a plan that brings together all of the stormwater things that need to be done, identifying those that you brought forth in your document a lot of specific things that can be done. None of them are large. You said that.
They're smaller, right.
We need to also now include those specific things, the large things, and make a decision, the council and the staff together make a decision as to which of those large things we start to tackle, because we might want to hire an engineering firm to do a shovel-ready engineering document on some of them, because there's grant money out there that we can go after. The Indian River Lagoon is, I'm preaching right now, but the Indian River Lagoon is a very high priority thing at the national and state level today. It won't be 5 years from now. They will go on to something else. That's what the politicians do. So we have to strike while the striking is good. We have to go after that grant money for some of these things that impact the lagoon more directly than anything else, and our whole stormwater system impacts the lagoon. So we need to concentrate on that. Council, what do you? I'm sorry. Public input. Oh, we don't have a motion yet, so we can do public input.
Yeah.
All right. Is there anyone from the public that would like to address this? Come forward, sir. You guys can sit down if you'd like, rather than stand there while they.
Okay.
I think that mic will work, Dr. Cox. I think that mic will work.
Just to be sure, let's use this one.
Okay.
He said this one's dead.
Rather, it's dead than me. I didn't get the memo on the Christmas jerseys. I'm sorry.
Humbug.
I have some comments here that are fairly extensive, but I just want to raise a word of caution about what happens to the canal when you lower the water level. About 30 years ago, my neighbor tells me this, I wasn't here 30 years ago, by some construction error at the Concha Dam, they blasted a hole in the dam and it sucked out a lot of mud and a lot of seawalls, bulkheads, and the city had to pay to rebuild those seawalls. It cost a little bit, but I say that because I've spent $40,000 on 2 bulkheads on 2 lots onto the dam, and I don't want to have to shell that out again, at least in my lifetime. Somebody else can do it. I want to thank Karen Miller for masterminding, wrangling this thing to a conclusion. I've asked Karen every time I see her, when do we get to see the stormwater plan? And she smiles. And that's the best answer. This is the best answer.
She always smiles.
I know. I'm impressed by the plan. I spent all day Monday going through the various sections. I'm impressed by the detail that's in it. And I just want to ask for 2 things. More time to read it. One whole day didn't do the trick. Even though there's a 50-page Cliff Notes, it still is a formidable document. And the other is, if we can have a couple of weeks to read it before you actually vote on a motion to do something with it, I would appreciate that, but I understand why you won't, because you want to get on with this thing and get it moving. The other is, it does need something in plain English to explain to the public at large what this is all about, because the first thing, I know that Andy's going to say, first thing out of his mouth, what's the cost, who's going to pay, and what's the timetable. And we're going to spell that out for people over time, over a very short time. I will, if I can, submit this set of comments to for the record. I don't want to take up people's time forever for the night, but I think it's a great plan. Let's get going with it. Okay, let's figure out how to raise the money to do it. I understand the grant business. I spent a long time writing grants, and I just want to make sure that we're well aware of the fact that there is, as you said, a lot of money right now, but a few years from now, yes, they're onto missiles instead. So I appreciate your time, and I will submit this to Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, Tim Glover, President of the Friends of St. Sebastian River. And I understand that it is like a 1,700-page document. I haven't had a chance to review any of it yet. But I just wanted to express the opinion or convey the desires of our board of directors, our membership, that at some point in the future, I would presume that there would be some sort of a presentation for the public, whether it's a workshop or something like that. We would be very much interested in that to try to understand some of the details of how it's going to be implemented and that kind of thing, rather than actually coming to an event here or a meeting here when you're actually implementing a particular project. So, thank you.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
Anyone on Zoom?
This time.
Okay. I think in response to the last speaker, I think that the time for the public workshop is after this overall overall plan is put together. I think the document that we're talking about tonight is kind of a technical, I mean, it is more of a technical document. And I think our staff needs to convert that to something that is more understandable. I think just like Dr. Cox talked about, something that lays out, at least lays out a general focus on what we're going to do and when we're going to try to do it and what the cost is to do that. And you can't really pull that out of this plan without converting that to staffing and planning projects. You really can't pull it out of the plan. There's a lot of stuff in there that they've suggested that we do, and we should certainly do that stuff as we can move through the process. So I anticipate that we're going to have many, many public meetings on this whole process as we move forward. And I don't want to put words in Brian's mouth, but I think something this big and this important to the city needs to be communicated fully and often to the public as we can do this. So, anyone else? Comments?
I think the more workshops we do with bigger items like this, the better.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments?
No. Any motion?
I'll have a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the Stormwater Master Plan and to direct staff to create a action plan based on the CIP items and the larger projects and such.
Is that good enough for you? Okay.
Second.
Do I have a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Any comments? This is not any money involved in this except for Brian, and we already pay him. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. So we're now on to item 13B. Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is, back on September 27th, we had a proposal based on our RFP process, RFP number 2311, for the sale and redevelopment of city-owned property, which is our former Public Works compound. And we had Steel Dragon, we received a proposal from Steel Dragon to purchase this property. And at our meeting on September 27th, the CRA board advanced this to City Council. And at that time, based on a presentation and discussion in regards to some of the contaminated area on the property, council directed staff to go back and have some discussions with Steel Dragon to see if we couldn't come up with some possible solutions and bring it back to you all. So we had discussions with Steel Dragon, and we worked out a solution. And I can state that I know that the third-party contracted EnviroTrack company that handles the remediation of the contaminated area on the property will be on site the second and third week of January to begin that remedial process. And we're hopeful that everything comes out as planned with that, and within a year of good evaluations, we hopefully can get some clearance on that section of the property. But with being said, in negotiations with Steel Dragon, we have kind of come to a solution that we recommend City Council to accept their bid proposal in the RFP and direct staff to enter into contract negotiations with Steel Dragon to bring it back to you all with a contract at a later date once we can get everything finalized with them.
Okay. Any comments?
No.
I think as long as, they're happy with it. The only thing I was worried about, you get the one contamination site, sometimes they say you gotta come in and dig up the whole thing, but they're able to just work at that one portion right there, so
Yeah.
that should solve everything.
Anyone from the public have a comment? No?
And Mr. Mayor, I know that their representatives are here if you have any questions for them. But like I said, we've had discussions, and I know that they've gotten Phase 2 clearance on the remainder of the property. But if you have any specific questions of them, they are here as well.
Okay. Well, I was told today that the Florida's official drink is alcohol. So I think they're going to fit right in when we get moving here. So if I don't hear any other comments, is there no one else in the audience wants to speak on this? I'll ask for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to accept the RFP from Steel Dragon. And they're very excited Owners and Company.
Second.
All right, you have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed, motion passes 5-0. Let's go on to 13C.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 13C, Wheelan Aerospace Technologies has a lease agreement with the city for office space in our terminal building and also space hangar A at the airport. Their lease agreement expires January 1st, 2024. However, it does have a 5-year extension option, and they have chosen to exercise that extension as long as it's approved by council. So before you all tonight is the lease extension that will take this agreement through January 1st of 2029.
Okay, does anyone from the public want to address this item? Seeing none, anyone on Zoom?
At this time.
Okay, council, any questions, or what's your pleasure?
Yeah, I presume that, I'm sorry, I presume that, that staff is okay, with extending this?
Yes.
Yeah.
I just like, and I know it is, but I just want for the public to know that we are receiving fair market value for the rent of that hangar there.
Yes, we are. Based on our analysis, we are receiving fair market value for the lease that we have in place.
Right, because I know that's some of the watchdogs' concerns in the community. So with that, I'll move approval of the staff recommendation approving the lease extension.
Do you have a second? Do we have a second?
Oh, second?
Oh, I didn't hear you, Fred, I'm sorry. Okay, motion and second. Any other comments?
I would like to mention this is, this Welland Technology, or Welland Aerospace is actually still part of Lopresti Aviation, which is a huge involved member of our community on many levels, charitable and other things. So it's exciting to keep them at our airport.
Great.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. All right, 13D.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this item is an amendment to our existing cooperative agreement between the city and St. Johns River Water Management District for stormwater treatment facility that we have. And what this basically is a area of property that's approximately 0.82 acres that is surrounded by the stormwater treatment facility property. And so they worked with the property owner to purchase, annex that, and so therefore annex that property into the property that we call stormwater treatment facility, or formerly stormwater park. And so this is basically memorializing that annexation and entering it into our land management plan, that we maintain the stormwater treatment facility as we currently do, and this will just add that piece of property onto that management plan as well.
Okay, and anybody who hasn't been out there in that stormwater treatment area should go. It's a great place to
It's a great place to walk.
great place to walk. There's a lot of nice walking trails through there, and if you're unlucky, you might run into a boar. You know, so of course they're out there, but they usually stay away from you unless you jump up on them. But so, are there any comments from the public on this? Zoom?
Not at this time.
Is there anyone on Zoom?
2 people.
Okay, so I'll keep asking. Have a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah.
Any comments? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. We're on to 13E.
So this item is up for your consideration, is utilizing Shenandoah to slip line 4 failed culvert pipes along Schumann Drive that we have. We have an agreement with Shenandoah, and we basically piggyback off of a Broward County or Broward College contract for this. And so we're requesting approval for the slip lining of 4 failed culvert pipes along Schuman Drive for a total of $134,745.10.
Okay, is that first one, it says Sebastian Elementary School crossing, is that the Pelican Island Elementary School crossing if it's on Schuman?
Right.
Okay, repeat what she said, because we,
It is the one on Schuman. She thinks that Shenandoah just changed the name for their quote purposes, which went into the agenda transmittal as Sebastian
all right,
Elementary School.
I just was wondering, because I know Sebastian Elementary is way over here, so, okay, all right, we're in good shape then. Any comments from public on this? Okay.
You know, it's funny.
Go.
The cornerstone of Pelican Isle Elementary is actually Sebastian Elementary was its original name.
Yes.
Really? Was
Yes.
it? I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Before the Pelican Island, before that was all brought in, all the property behind it, they changed the name and then they built Sebastian Elementary and took the name, but the cornerstone still says Sebastian Elementary on it.
So these guys may have walked over there and seen that.
Yeah.
I do have one question, and just for sake of discussion, what would the amount to be, well, I'm sorry, there we go, let's say that again. What would the amount be to replace these 4 culverts if we had to replace them? Just as a informational number. Do we know that?
Get back to you on cost, but the big thing is we would have to close the road.
Right.
I think we need to get her on the mic.
Karen, can you
so
come up
she's
to the
in
mic and
recording.
say that, please?
It's not on.
Third time's a charm.
There it is.
I would have to get back to you about the exact cost, but the big thing is the time. We would have to close the road at 4 locations and typically for 2 to 3 days at a time at each location. So it's just more of the time and energy.
Is there a cost savings associated with it too, or is it really just about not tearing up the entire road?
It's more about not tearing up the entire road.
Okay.
But I do know we are doing a road repaving there, but again, we then pull a crew from stormwater to do that work and a crew from roads, and they are then taken off of the ditches as well.
Gotcha.
So that's another thing to consider.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, not to mention it costs a lot more money to dig up a road and compact everything and put it back rather than shooting some material through there and slip lining it.
And
so.
these are smaller sizes than some of the other ones that we slip line in the past. So that's why the cost for each one is a little lower, and just the time savings, that's what we're going for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
I make a motion to recommend approval of the Shenandoah slip lining contract.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Any other comments? Would you signify by saying aye for approval?
Aye.
Aye, same sign for, no?
We
Motion
got,
passes.
There's a
we should probably have
Money.
a vote on
We
this
gotta-
because
but-
a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Fred. Thank you, Chris. Yes, it's money, so we have to have a roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you.
I mean, let's keep this chair straight up here while you can do that. Okay, we're on to 13F.
My
Yes,
turn.
go ahead.
Thank you. Resolution number R-23-36, a resolution of the City of Sebastian, Indian River County, Florida, authorizing the city manager to execute a public transportation grant agreement, PTGA, with the Florida Department of Transportation for funding the design cost of FM 45-1510-1-9401, runway 0523, asphalt rehabilitation at the Sebastian Municipal Airport, providing for conflict, severability, scrivener's errors, and an effective date.
Okay, and the local portion of this, is that coming out of DST? The 5% local?
Yes, it is.
All right, thank you. All right, council, any comments?
I'll move approval of resolution number R-23-36.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Anyone from the public like to address this? All right, any comments from council? No?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, motion to approve by Councilmember McPartlin, seconded by Councilmember Nunn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Do we need to
We think
voice
we
vote?
should roll call.
Do we need to voice vote this?
Oh, yeah, we need a voice vote on this, because it is money from the city, even though we're getting
much
$3.5 million from the state on
Yes.
this one, so.
And that's an amazing FAA grant, by the way.
Okay, voice vote, please.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
And Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, 13G.
Mr. Mayor, so we're requesting approval to purchase some security hardware in the amount of $169,360. And just to make a comment, in your agenda packet, you will notice that we have eliminated the product details from our packet just because they are exempt per Florida statute, to make sure we can secure our hardware and software within our technology department here in the MIS.
My only question is this particular application package consistent with what other governmental entities within our region are using? I'm seeing Barbara shake her head yes, but.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna call Barb up here to answer that question, but if she's saying yes, then yes, it is.
Yeah, her little hat's going up and down like that, which.
Yeah,
Okay.
of the companies I deal with throughout the world, this is probably one of the most popular appliances being used.
Okay, good. So are there any comments from anyone in the public on this? Seeing none. Zoom?
Not at this time.
Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase of new security hardware.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Let's have a roll call, please.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
And Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Number 13H. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So 13H is a special event agreement with the Rotary Club of Sebastian's Recreational Foundation for the special event titled River Days and Craft Brew Hullabaloo that is operated at Riverview Park. This group does a great job with giving back to the community with the funds that they raise for this event. It is a large event that takes place at the park over the course of 3 days. And it brings plenty of people into the city as well. So not many major changes in this agreement based on what we've done in the past, but it does carry an additional 5 years that would terminate April 1st of 2028. And I know we have Mark Gingras, who is here. He organizes the event and handles a lot of the responsibilities for it if you have any specific questions.
Okay. Does anyone in council have any questions for Mark?
No, I think they do a great job, so.
Yep, agreed.
Yes, I do too. So, what's your pleasure, council?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the joint special event agreement with the Rotary Club of Sebastian.
And I will second that.
Okay. Anyone from the public like to comment? Okay. The have a motion and a second. Let's have a roll call, please.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
And Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, 13I, which is the authorization of purchase of a John Deere.
Yes, sir. So this is an item that was included in this year's budget, utilizing discretionary sales tax monies to replace a 2013 year model that is reaching the end of its expected service life. The cost for this John Deere wheeled excavator is $374,128.
Is there anyone in the public like to address this item? Seeing none. No? Okay. Council, what's your pleasure?
I move approval, Mr. Mayor, also for discussion too, once we get a second, if we get.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah, and I think based on, I think in the near future, we are more than likely going to see more of this come across us. And a lot of that's due based on the stormwater master plan, some of the things that we've already known, but that report highlighted some of the deficiency in equipment and stuff like that. So I could foresee in the near future that we'll be looking at more of this type of equipment to be purchased here so that we can keep everything going.
Good. I mean, I agree with you, and I would hope that in viewing this overall plan that we can, we're driving into budget cycle already again, so I'm hoping that without too much undue stress, that we can do some emergency budget exceptions, but also try to drive a lot of that stuff through our CIP in the next budget cycle as well, if we can do that. It's simpler. It gives us an opportunity to kind of deal with it, so thank you. Anyone else? Okay, can we have a roll call, please? Oh, I need a motion.
We have a motion and a second, and then you had a
That was a motion for discussion. Okay, let's do a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
And Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we're on to 13J, City Council meeting procedures. Okay, Council, if you look at this, one change that has been recommended by the staff, and I think it's a good change, and that's on page 423 of our packet, is that they're asking that workshops, that we modify this so that it is possible for a workshop to be scheduled during the day, no earlier than 9 a.m., as opposed to the 6 p.m. time frame that was in the original, or 5 p.m. time frame was in the original document. So it gives us an opportunity to have workshops during the day if we choose to do that. There's nothing in the charter that prohibits this. In fact, the charter doesn't even set our meeting times at 6. That's done by this procedure. But the charter does set special called meeting times at no earlier than 5 p.m. So if we're going to do something as a workshop, it gives us an opportunity to do it during the day. And that was the one change that they asked for in this.
And it's my understanding so that we can do a workshop at like 9, 10, or 11 a.m. and then another one in the evening for like.
Yeah. And there's some validity to doing that because there are people, I don't know, let's look at it.
It allows for more citizens to attend.
I'm not talking about you, but
I
we're all
know.
getting old. And a lot of people don't like to drive at night, so, and also.
Yes. And then those of us who work.
And those who work too, so, okay. So is there any comment about the change that the city's asking us to make?
No, and I feel like we may have went against this in the past because I know we've had workshops during the day.
This is true.
It's important that we correct it so that we can have workshops properly throughout the time. And I still would encourage us to have workshops after hours as well, but during the day as well. I think it's a good thing.
Our ultimate goal is to get as much citizen involvement as possible.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask one other question, and I'm afraid to almost ask it, but is there anything else in this resolution? Because this resolution does, it is the controlling resolution for the council's work. So is there anything else in here that anyone noticed that they would like to discuss modifying?
I think we should change the adjourn time to 11. I'm just kidding.
You better be kidding.
11:30.
Starting in December, you may not be kidding. All right, so I will entertain a motion on the modification that the staff asked for as delineated on page 223 of our agenda packet.
Hang on, is this a good spot to put, to change the time limit for speaking? Because sometimes we get all of these different, huge topics where we have a lot of people in here and we'll never be able to get through or complete a meeting if we continue.
If I might.
Go ahead.
It's part of my item on the next agenda item, actually.
Okay. That doesn't need to be here then.
Well,
this is where
under
the
section 8. You can decide if you want to codify it, or you could include it in this as well.
But this is actually where the 5-minute time limit is.
Yeah, would we adjust it to what, 3?
Yeah. But you know, it's actually also possible for the council to waive their rules
Yeah, but we can't reduce it though. If we start at 5 and now we know we need to bring it down to 3 because of a contentious, item here. But if we started at 3, we can always extend their time.
Yeah.
We can't reduce the amount of time that was allotted, but if we put it at 3, anyone that needs to go over the 3 minutes, we can, by consensus of the council, we can then move that forward and allow them to continue.
When you say start at 3, you talking about change the start time for the council meeting?
No, I'm talking about, speaking
3
time.
minutes
Yeah,
versus
yeah,
5,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we can, if we list it at 3, we can always waive the rules and extend it to 5. If we list it as 5, we can always waive the rules and reduce it to 3 based on the number of people who want to speak.
Right.
By a consensus of the council.
Yeah, by consensus of the council, yes.
Right.
Yes. So, I mean, it's not something the chair can do, but the council can do that if they choose to do it. So
Right.
if the place is full and we say how many people are gonna speak on this topic and 30 hands go up, then it might be appropriate for the council to think about reducing it to 3 minutes.
Or extending the meeting till 11 o'clock.
Well, we can't extend the meeting to 11 unless we change this procedure here. We can only extend it to 10 o'clock.
Don't change it.
So, okay.
Yeah, but is that correct? We can put that in this part here? Okay,
You can,
so
and
that
then we'll
would,
discuss
be
whether-
my, suggestion that we move. This is already, I think there was already a motion and a second. I think with whoever made the motion will probably have to change that.
I think you did. Did
I
you?
think we're good leaving it at 5 and then just adjusting. We only have hot topics every so often.
Yeah, but it only takes that one time to get
Well,
some
this-
things to come before us and nothing gets done. The better part of that would be to have a lower number, and we can always increase it for anyone who needs more time, with a consensus of the council, so.
I just don't like limiting speech.
So are you then saying, well,
Did
first
I make
of
the
all, would you
motion?
like to remove your
I was
motion?
so focused on this other part. Did I make
Would
the
you like to
motion?
remove your motion so we can talk about that?
Yes, I
Okay.
would.
Will you withdraw your
Yes,
second?
I
Okay.
withdraw my
So
second.
what you're saying is that on page 425, which is in section 8, item B1, where it says they're permitted 5 minutes to speak on that item.
Correct.
Are you saying to change that to 3?
Correct.
Okay. Did you follow me on that?
Yeah.
Is anyone,
I'd like to leave it at 5. You
Same.
know, when you drop it to 3, then people are starting to think, hey, you don't want us to talk.
Exactly.
And you have the ability to either give them more time or take their time away.
I much prefer if we have a hot topic, a full house, we know we're gonna have 20, 30, 40 people come up and speak, then we decide as a council to say, oh, tonight we're gonna have to drop it to 3, so this way we have an opportunity to hear from everybody. Instead of going ahead and just cutting everybody off at 3 from here on with the, oh, well, we like what we're hearing from you, we're gonna give you 2 more minutes. I just don't think that's fair.
yeah, okay. Yeah, and I will say that even during some of our most contentious meetings about annexation and the one about trash, and some others, I don't know that we've really had an issue with the public input moving the meeting to the point where we couldn't finish our agenda. The only agenda we didn't get done was the one about the lawsuit that we had with 3 council members. Took us 3 meetings to get that one done, but.
Yeah, I know, but when I think about stuff like that, I can't look into the past because we don't know what's gonna happen in the future here. And with the way the city is growing, I'm looking out for, not just for now, but what the future holds for us. There may be a lot of other things that come before us that we may look back and say, wow, perhaps we should have done that, you know?
And that's why we look at it yearly.
Yes.
All right, so can I get a motion on the changes that would like to be made to this procedure?
I'll make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to modify Resolution 2132 to change the workshop times as stated in the agenda, and that's it.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion. Anyone from the public like to comment? Let's have a roll call on this.
Councilmember Jones?
Yes.
Councilmember McPartlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Nunn?
Yes.
Mayor Dodd?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Dixon?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, guys. And now we're on to 13K. Madam City Attorney.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. This item is brought before you tonight partially at your request and also at mine. We had a few issues with citizen advisory boards where we realized there might be some training needed. And you also had asked some council members for a little bit of brief training, probably annually, regarding decorum and Robert's rules and things of that nature. So bringing this before you tonight, along with some items that I've kind of noticed. I've been here almost 6 months, and I've sort of been keeping a list. Not things that are necessarily being done wrong, but maybe could be done a little better, in my opinion. And I wanted you guys to have a chance to discuss that with me and give me some direction. Felt it might be appropriate to do it in a workshop setting rather than having during a council meeting. Up to you. Either way you'd like to do it, but I wanted to bring it forward to you tonight, and also with the list of items, one of which is to consider codification of those matters that you just discussed during the adoption of the prior resolution. Personally, coming on board, a lot of those matters were hard to find. If you didn't know this resolution existed, you wouldn't know where to find those things because they're not in your code anywhere. So that would be my recommendation to start with. Please consider that, as well as some of these other items that I've listed, one of which is the training. The other thing that I've asked you to consider is the procedures for which you remove citizen board members. I have a lot of backup information on all of these items that I'll provide to you at that workshop. I just thought that would be best to give you a brief outline of some things for you to discuss, see if you want to go forward with those or not, and then we can talk about them later.
Council, what's your opinion on this?
I am grateful for this. I was one of the members who requested something like this after hearing about it in EMO 2, actually. One of our classes suggested that this is good practice to do annually, not only just for new members coming in, but just as a good refresher. And I thought that was a great idea. And so I'm glad that we were on the same page.
I don't have a problem with a single sample matter item you have here. I think they all would tighten the ship up as it would be a little bit on some things. And I look forward to hearing whatever else you have to offer.
Bob?
The only additional thing I would ask is, I don't know if the League of Cities has some little webinars, and it could be recommended for people that are joining a board who have never had any involvement. Maybe they want to review.
Yeah.
Because I don't want us to have to reinvent the wheel for certain things. But again, when, we have some they're all fantastic volunteers, and they may not have any kind of exposure outside of paying for their car tax or their homeowners, and so it's just a little enlightening.
Yeah.
Because we have seen a few meetings where there were, say, contentious issues before the citizen board, and there was a little bit of difficult, telling them sometimes, hey, you can just take a breath before,
Yeah.
Well, I think it's important too, because I've personally noticed that there seems to be kind of a mixed bag about the Robert's rules and how the boards work, and sometimes even where their authorities lies and don't lie. So I do know that the resolution that it was put together 2215 that was put together by Manny while he was still here, tried to lay out break the boards into categories as to what they do have authority to do and don't have authority to do, and I think it's important to extend on that, and I think a workshop is a really good idea to do this. So I don't have any problem. I mean, we could talk about this 27th of December meeting. I wouldn't want to try to do anything then, but I wouldn't have any problem in January. We have a meeting scheduled for the 27th.
Yeah, but I'm hoping we don't.
That we have to talk about.
Yeah, but I'm hoping we don't have that meeting.
I'm going to bring it up under my matters.
Okay, there you go.
I'll bring it up under my matters. But we could probably do this in January, although it might be appropriate not to do it in the first meeting in January. I don't know, because I don't know what's going to carry over to that meeting.
So may I ask for clarification? Do you have consensus for me to go forward with codification on that, or do you want to wait until January for that?
I think it would
No,
be
you
good,
have
though, to make
consensus
this
from
an
me.
annual thing, that it's like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
first meeting in January.
Well, you're talking about codification of the procedure
Right,
of
because
the,
that would
of
need to be
of what we just passed a minute ago.
correct.
Right.
But there's
Okay.
a separate issue here, and that's the overall training for the committees and the boards and so forth, right?
Well, the primary request is the codification and then the discussion, the setting of the workshop for all the other matters.
Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, consensus me.
I'm good with that.
Consensus.
And then if you disagree and you know, we'll have it, I'll have it for you at that meeting, and if you don't want to go forward, we can scrap it.
Okay, good.
Great.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Can we have a motion on that?
Now, do we need a motion? you
Can I
think?
please?
Okay. Do I have a motion on that?
So moved.
So moved? Or is it so moved and it's
Second.
so second? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, there's your motion.
So
Got it.
second.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we are on to,
The one we added, L,
L, 9D, that was 9D.
90. Snows,
Oh, we gotta
winter
move that over.
wonderland.
oh yes, we have to do, yes, bring that up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I apologize for the beginning. I thought that you all had already allocated it to 13L, so I apologize for that. So this item is for the Barb Snow Space Coast Superior events, her annual Winter Wonderland event, which she has historically done over the last 3 years, this time of year. The reason it's coming so late in the time frame with this is due to the fact that we raised the cost to have a special event within the park, and we withheld her coming to you all for any approval until we had those additional fees in place. In that time, we've also increased the cost for our police detail, so there were a lot of price increases that she had to pay in order to get this on the council agenda. So it was before you all for this coming weekend was the originally scheduled event. Due to the forecasted weather that they're calling for rain, winds this coming weekend, she has asked to push it back to take place next weekend. And the event would take place on Friday, December 22nd, Saturday, December 23rd, and Sunday, December 24th is her request.
Okay. Any comments from council?
I make a motion to recommend approval.
Yeah, as long as there's nothing else scheduled. Second.
Okay. We have a second? Motion to second?
Mm-hmm.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay. We're now on to the city attorney's matters.
I think I've exhausted your time tonight. Nothing else. It's my time.
Okay, and welcome back.
Thank you.
Okay. City manager matters.
So I just have one item. As you all are aware, the agreement for the lease of the facility at Working Waterfront with Krabby Bill's is set to expire in March. And I've had some discussions with them, and I'm just kind of looking to see if you all, if we can get a consensus on whether we want to have this item brought back for a potential amendment to allow them to operate the business and get through the season on a future agenda, or if we just, the consensus is to just let the contract expire in March. So I just wanted to bring that before you all to get a little bit of direction on how you all prefer staff to go on that item.
Yeah, I don't personally have a problem with it, Brian. I think it's probably a good thing to do to allow that business to go through the season, but we must have a date certain, period. So I think it's the right thing for us to do. I know what we talked about before, but it's the right thing for us to do to allow them to get through this season. That gives them more time to plan for something else as well. And we're not using the building for anything during that period, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Do we have a possible suggested end date in mind?
My thought on this is something in the range of a business operations end June 1st and out of the facility within 60 days, or in May 1st and out within 60 days. Somewhere around in that time frame would be an option.
Yeah.
Are they, they're not behind on any payments, there's no issues with any of that, is there?
We do not have any current issues, no.
Okay. And as far as the termination of the lease, do we know specifically and exactly who has ownership of what property that's located within the building?
So we do, yes, so we do have it's kind of just a spreadsheet, a layout of what is the property of the museum and the people that donated to the museum, that property list. So we have a general property list. Now to say it's all inclusive and it includes every single thing, I can't state that.
Okay.
But we do have a property list.
And there's nothing in the fish market or in the, that, in that area that is the property of the city?
Within the fish market area?
Within the fish market area.
I would have to go in there and look at it and compare it to our list.
I can't remember whether
There may be some general items that are located in that section that are property of the city, but that would be our responsibility to go in prior to removal of anything and ensure what is owned by the city based on our documents.
Okay, I don't have a problem with extending this. I mean, quite frankly, we're not going to have any use for that building until we tear it down. Or we bring in a restoration architect and try to figure out how to do it. But we got to raise it 3 feet to do that. And sometimes raising something 3 feet causes more problems than anything else. But so I don't have any problem extending it. I just want to make sure that we have a clear picture on the termination process for the lease. And that we make sure that we've got ourselves in a position where we understand what has to take place, and we don't need to be getting into an argument with them after the fact when they take something out that we think is ours or something like that takes place. I mean, we don't want to get caught in one of those situations. So, but I don't have any problem.
I think at this point, all that they're operating is the fish market. I don't think the restaurant's been open for about 8 months now.
No,
so.
it's not open.
So-
But I didn't know when everything transpired, to shift from what used to be the restaurant that was in there that was illegal or whatever, and bringing Krabby Bill's in. I don't know whether the city bought part of that equipment or not, or what was done with any of that, but it's just in making sure we have a clear picture of what the actual termination of the lease is and what getting out means. Okay, so I would think that maybe as part of extending the lease, when you bring it back to us, you might want to try to at least have some feel for that, if you can. Is that acceptable with the council?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion on this, or do you need a motion? I know
Just
it's
a consensus,
you'll bring
just
it
to bring it back.
So we have a consensus? Okay. Brian, you have anything else?
The last thing I just want to say is Merry Christmas to all of you, our residents, our business owners, visitors to the city. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
All right, the city clerk.
Say Merry Christmas or
You have to
something to
speak.
that. Okay.
Last meeting of the year, hopefully.
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 All right, Councilmember Nunn.
I just want to say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. Thank you.
All right, Vice Mayor Dixon.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Okay.
Hey, can
My
you
turn.
skip it and let me do it? No, go ahead. I was going to say
You want to do it?
No, you go ahead.
The 27th meeting, you want to do that?
No, you can do it. I'm
You sure?
That's fine.
I'll let you do it, I don't mind.
No, you can handle it.
Okay, we do have a meeting scheduled for the 27th of December, and I would kind of like to get a feel for whether we want to cancel that meeting or not. I don't know what travel plans may be like for anybody, but I do know that when we meet, lots of our staff people feel compelled to come to the meetings, and so the 2 days after Christmas might be kind of punitive on some of them and so forth. So,
Well, not to mention the fact though, that they'll have to have the agenda available prior to that meeting.
Yes.
And then we have to have lead up time to understand what's on there, meet with the staff. This is just not going to be feasible for us to do it, so I don't want us to just not have the meeting because we just don't want to have one. It's just not going to be possible for our staff and us to properly prepare for a meeting, so why would we have one on that day?
you did a great explanation.
Great job.
Great job. So what's the consensus up here?
My daughter's performing at the Sunrise Theater that night, so I would not be able to make it anyway.
I don't think we've had the second meeting for the
I
past
think you
3
need to
years.
email that out so we can try to get tickets to the Sunrise Theater.
It's on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, no, let's do it.
All right, is the consensus that we cancel that meeting?
Yes.
Yes.
Unless the city has some pressing business, and
Yeah.
I think they
Right.
could get
No.
anything done in amount of time, but.
I mean, okay, the consensus is that we cancel the 27th meeting and give you the opportunity to call us in a special session if there's a requirement to do so.
100%.
Right.
There you go.
How's that?
One-time exception.
Okay. Now, next, I've been approached by the mayor of Fort Pierce, who is a good friend of mine and I like very, very much. I think a lot of you guys have met her.
Yeah.
And she is in a Fort Pierce, not her personally, but Fort Pierce is in a battle right now between Stewart and Fort Pierce for a Bright Line stop. And if there's going to be a Bright Line stop on the Treasure Coast, I personally would like to see it in Fort Pierce rather than Stewart. Because one day I might want to go down to Fort Pierce and get on the train and go to Miami just for the thrill of it. I don't know, but it's much closer than Stewart is. So I have drafted, and you guys all have a copy of this in front of you. I've drafted a letter for us to provide to the team putting together their presentation in Fort Pierce, that basically says that Sebastian supports the Fort Pierce getting that Bright Line station, and if that's acceptable to you guys, I'll ask Brian to transmit that. So.
Yeah. I had conversations with Mayor Hudson as well, and I think it's a great thing that if we can get it, if they have the ability to get it in Fort Pierce, it would be great for us here. That's pretty much central of the Treasure Coast. Yeah. So
I was saying, I think with Bucky's going Ninja Road, I think they're gonna choose Fort Pierce because of future growth there. And they've got the space to do it in Fort Pierce. Yeah. Really space. So moved, approved.
Yeah, she's refused to tell me exactly what they're gonna put there, but.
Actually, you know, someone mentioned, that trailer park property next to Home Depot would have made a great Bright Line station right on the railroad tracks.
It's not big enough.
It's probably not big enough now.
Not long enough.
Actually, that would make a great anything. What's the council's?
Yes, I think you have a consensus from us.
All right, we have consensus, and we'll send that. The one last thing that I have, and this is the Florida League of Cities issue. Since we're not going to meet until is it the 6th of January?
January 10th.
January 10th. There are some issues right now being run through committees in Tallahassee, things like short-term rentals, which can be kind of destructive to the stuff that we're doing. There is a move right now to include local municipal government elected officials in the state's term limit rule. They want to do county commissioners and city government people in term limits. There's several. I have a hard time thinking of them right now, but I would like to know if the commission would have an issue if it comes up when my dealing with the Florida League of Cities, then I'd ask Brian to put together a proclamation that we can send to our legislators, either supporting or not supporting a specific piece of legislation as it impacts the city. Sure. This stuff, when it starts rolling through committee, it rolls quick.
Yeah.
And so I think January Fred, you're going up there on January the what?
No, I'll be up there, so I won't be here for the meeting on the 10th because I'll be in Tallahassee, and the 10th is the day. We get there on the 9th. Yeah. It's Family Day at the Capitol on the 9th, and on the 10th is when we have our meetings with the senators and representatives from the league on these very same issues that you're talking about. So we're preparing for that right now, and we'll be well prepared when we get to Tallahassee.
So if there are issues that come up, for example, if they actually add the term limits on elected municipal officials, I'd like to respond to that as quickly as possible.
Yes, please.
On that one. So I just want to know if the council would have an issue if I work with Brian on putting together a couple things during this interim time if it's needed.
No.
At this point, Kelly would be the only one that could run for re-election.
I'm sorry?
I said if they added that, Kelly would be the only one that could run for re-election. The rest of us would all be term limited out.
Well, only if they make it retroactive.
Well,
they made it retroactive for school board members.
Yes, they did.
But what I've been told by one of the Florida League of Cities attorneys is it's illegal, and the school board people should have sued. They just didn't.
Wow.
So I would not want to be the member of a school board in the state of Florida right now, period, no matter what. So I think they were just kind of reacting to, goodness gracious, this is just the last nail in the coffin. I may as well die. You know, so as they went forward with that. So thank you for that. And that's it for me. Councilmember Bartlett.
Okay. Well, first off is Mayor Dodd was installed as the Treasure Coast League of Cities president this morning, And so that's probably he's a little tired from running that meeting as well. But, you know, I thought you had been the president for like a year of the league. But, you know, Mr. Dodd is well respected throughout, you know, the Treasure Coast and Okeechobee. And his involvement in some of those larger issues they do affect the cities and local government. And I admire that, Mr. Dodd. The other thing I'd like to bring up is because we had the football team in here earlier. I would like to see, you know, they have, and I spoke a little bit to Brian, you know, home of the 2023, what are they, the SSAC champions 2023 as you come into the city. You know, and I know, and again, if we do it for them, we have to go back, I think it was 10 years ago when the girls won the basketball tournament, and the council had promised to them at the time that there would be a sign representing them as well. But I was at the MPO meeting this morning, which you missed, and Brian Freeman didn't think, if it was on the county property, that's kind of a problem. But where you enter the city at the City of Sebastian sites, I don't think there would be a problem. I mean, and can that be done, Brian?
So I apologize, I have not had an opportunity to meet with our sign shop yet on that item, but it is something that we have on our list of things to look into.
Okay. All right, but if we do the football, we got to go back to when the girls won the state championship as well.
So is it a consensus of the council that if he can make it happen, that he should just make it happen?
Make it happen.
Is that reasonable, Brian? Rather than you think you've got to do something and then come back to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Make it happen.
Make it happen.
All right, and other than Merry Christmas, the last days of Hanukkah, and Happy New Year. And also, I won't be here the 10th.
You won't?
Of January, so I just heard that Mr. Jones won't be here.
Will we have
And
quorum?
I won't be here.
We'll have a quorum, right?
Okay, good.
Okay, because if we don't think we can have a quorum, then we need to do something about that.
You're not going to be in Tallahassee on the 10th.
No, I'm not.
He's going up the end of the month.
I'm going on the 29th with
Yeah.
with the other group, because they're having Florida League Cities board meetings on the 29th, so I have to go up for that. Okay, Councilmember Jones.
Yes, so make it so, number one. Anyway, that's a Star Trek reference. No, it just came up when Ed was talking about make it so or something like that. But, you know, after watching the Natural Resources Board meeting, you know, I've been thinking about this, and I've asked, a lot of people have talked about this, about the number of trees that are required on properties in Sebastian. And what that number is, I don't know. I think it's 7, but if somebody could tell me. So the number is apparently 7, but a lot of times all the new homes go in and they plant whatever types of trees. Next thing you know, you drive by there and there's no trees on the lot. So do we have an enforcement mechanism, first of all, about that? And if so, what can we do to keep more trees out there? If they don't want to have trees on the property or they take some down, maybe they'll have to plant one somewhere else so that we can keep the environment clean. And that's what trees do for us. They allow us to breathe. So is there something that we can do about that? I mean, obviously, we're not going to make a decision right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we can do is, in a discussion with staff, we can bring something back at the next meeting or the second meeting. I know you aren't going to be here at the 10th, so maybe we'll bring it back to the second meeting to provide you all with the full details of our current process and what we currently do. And then that way we can go forward from there with some direction on any changes that we need to look at making.
Yeah, and other thing is, on Earth Day, when we have Earth Day down there, you know, I know they haven't gotten a lot of food trucks or anything before because sometimes they make them park on this side or the other side, so there's a difference between some people only see the one side, they never make it to the other side. If they're going to have those food trucks down there, is it possible that we can get someone to make sure that all the food trucks are on the street like we've had before? That makes it more accessible for people in wheelchairs as well, rather than riding through the grass and things like that.
So I think that just comes down to a site plan assessment of exactly how many food trucks they're going to have and how much space we do have.
Yeah, but let's just say they do have enough, and can we make that happen to where it's like that? That's what I think I want to know, and I think that's something they would need to know too from the Natural Resources Board when it comes to Earth Day. It's not like a lot of the other events, and you know, I wish we get more people down for Earth Day than some of the other events, but we don't. But perhaps over the years, as we develop things and they're able to get more food trucks and more activities out there, which they're working on right now, I think that would be a great thing for us down there. So that's all I have. Oh, and Merry Christmas, Sebastian, and if I don't see you for the new year, Happy New Year.
Hey, can I mention something on the trees? One of the problems with that is, and the house right over by me is a perfect example. They have like an 8.5, 9-foot backyard, and they put like 5 oak trees along the back of the house. So literally, when the trees grow for 2 years, they're gonna be touching the fence, touching the house, and that's why the people pull these trees out.
Right.
And I don't know what can be done about tree placement, but tree placement is the biggest problem
Yes.
with why people take their trees out.
Mhm.
I mean, I said, there's a house over by me, not kidding. There's 5 oak trees along the back of that house, and the house isn't even maybe 10 feet from the fence. So that's where the problem lies, is not as much as they want to get rid of the trees, they actually just want some sort of a yard. So just a thought on that.
Yeah, they seem to forget that the trees grow.
Yes.
Well, the landscape code is a mess in some regards anyway, so maybe this is a catalyst for us to try to start taking a look at that landscape code. Because I know the builders will put in trees that couldn't survive no matter what you do, and when they die, they just expect the homeowner to replace them, and their homeowners just don't do it, so. Okay, is there anything else for the good of the order here? Then we are adjourned.